Well, hey there, everybody. My name is Esther Bartkiw. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk to you about how does God, source energy, speak to you? Because God speaks to you all the time. And I have to be honest, this is a topic that comes up a lot on my social media platforms when I'm working with clients. People say, I don't hear from God. I don't know how God, source energy, communicates with me. I feel like God is always silent with me. And I thought, you know what? Let me give you some new perspectives and some tips, and let's get you receiving that information that God has specifically for you on your life's journey. So that's the topic of today's video. Before I dive into it, I just want to give everybody a reminder that right now I'm running a special opportunity on the future self manifesting process, and it expires end of day December 5th, 2021. If you're watching this a little bit later down the road, I'll put a link below. You can check out the information about it. This is a dynamic manifesting process for those of you who are really conscious about being conscious creators of your life, and we all have this ability to do it. This is a great manifesting process that you probably have not tried before. Okay, the moment you wish something or dream something or conceive of something that you want to experience in your day-to-day life, it is created in the ethers, and there is a future you that is living that dream energetically. And in this process, I help you to connect with that future self living the dream, and we find out, how did we get there? And you will leave the process with a blueprint, a guidebook of information, of steps on how you can create exactly what you want in your everyday life. I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the video. I just wanted to remind you, a lot of people sign up at the last minute. I still have some sessions that we could do before Christmas, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and then I'm also starting to book into January. All right. So how does God, source energy, universe, prime creator, whatever term you use, speaks to you? Because God speaks to us in many ways. A lot of people will hear a still small voice inside, very soft, very calm, sometimes loud. I remember my Auntie Mary, very godly woman. And she tells this story because I was in the car with her when it happened, but I didn't know what was going on in her experience. And I was really young back then. And we were driving around looking at houses because she wanted to move to St. Catharines, and we were doing open houses, and I went along with her. And we were driving by a house that had an open house sign on it. And apparently her process was she was humming and hawing and, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if I like this street. And eventually she told me, she goes, all she heard inside of her was, how do you know you don't like this house? Stop the car and go inside with Esther. And that's what she did. And she ended up by buying that house, and she still lives there. She's 91 years old, and she still lives there. And she had amazing neighbors she had family around her all the time as well, but she had amazing neighbors who loved and helped her. And her neighbors, I come from a Ukrainian, Czechoslovakian ethnic background. Her neighbors adopted a Ukrainian orphan boy, and he came over from the Ukraine, and he was small. And he took to my Auntie Mary right away, likely because she reminded him of the older ladies, back in the Ukraine. And he's a young grown man now in his 20s, I think maybe even in his early 30s. And they've always been like thick as thieves, as the saying goes. And so I say a still small voice, but for her it was big and loud and booming, and she knows that God was directing her because she was ready to head down that road. And I love that story. I hear it so many times from her, and I just love it. So sometimes people hear the whispers within, but sometimes it can be quite audible. All right, I get audible, like, where does that come from? And I know now that's God or my higher self, but we're talking about God source energy today. And, you know, in the spirit of oneness, we are one, we are all connected. The information's coming from a higher source, right? Sometimes you get a nudge or a feeling. That's how God whispers information to you. Religious people will say they get it from their texts, right? The Quran, the Bible, the Torah, whatever it may be, that those texts, the verses, speak to them. God talks to us through books and through quotes and blog posts and videos, right? How many times have you read something and you're like, ding, 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 oh my God, that's the answer. Or that's the inspiration that I needed. Or, oh, I just love that. That's lifting my spirits, right? Okay. Through tweets, through Instagram stories and memes and bumper stickers and billboards and song lyrics. How many times do you feel that God Universe has spoken to you through music? Whether it's music without words, maybe it's the lyrics of a song or a frequency of the music, it will move you. Now, speaking of being moved, God can also speak to you through performances, right? Dance, movies, art, expression. I mean, I think that I love to go to the opera. I love to go to live ballet. And I can come out sometimes saying, wow, I was really moved by that performance. And if I look into what moved me about it, it stirred something within in my soul. And there's some kind of a message there from God. I just have to sit then and get quiet because I've been pointed in the right direction. So God speaks to us through nature, through animals, through the elements, fire, wind, water, earth, ether. I mean, water for me is really, really big. When I head down to the sea and I just sit there, whether there's lots of waves or no waves, I just feel like that sea is just speaking to me, loving me, encouraging me, giving me inspirations. And I know, but it's God that's directing that, using the sea to communicate with me. Have you ever sat in front of a fire? I love fires. I don't have enough fires in my life, but like a bonfire or in your fireplace. And, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, this is fire season and you just get memorized by the flames and the heat and the warmth, and something just comes over you and you can start to see images in the fire. Maybe you see spirits in the fire and getting messages from the fire. Fires are another really great element. God speaks to us through other people. Okay, sometimes a person will come to you and say, I have a word for you. But sometimes it's not that at all. Sometimes you could be getting your coffee at the coffee shop and you overhear a conversation that's going on, and whatever you hear was meant for you to hear. You were right there at that time to hear that message. And through children, oh my gosh, how many messages have you gotten through children? Right? Out of the mouth of babes is what they say. I always listen to what the children are saying around me because I know there's wisdom there for me coming from God. For those who are, new age, who are more spiritual, God speaks to you, universe speaks to you through your crystals or through your runes, or maybe you use cards, right? Through candles, whatever it might be. God speaks to you in those ways. So how does God speak to you? Is there one way? Is there many ways? God speaks to me in many, many, many ways. I'm open, but there's always 2 or 3 go to. And I'm like, oh, okay, God's trying to get my attention here. Now, if I'm missing anything from this listing, you're like, Esther, God speaks to me in this way, you forgot it, please put it below or in the comments section, wherever you're watching this, and add it to the list. Add it to this list, because what you add to the list might be exactly the information somebody else needs, and God is speaking through you to them. See how that works? I love it. I love it so much. So we're all very different, and God's source energy speaks to us differently. It's up to us to learn the communications and to be really present, to be aware, to not just slough things off. You can ask sometimes, okay, God, I need you to speak to me today. I am going to be walking around town. There's going to be lots of opportunities. When you speak to me, make it so known to me that I can't miss it. And in the beginning, asking, your question, make sure you ask your question, whatever you're looking for, the information. But I feel it's fair game to say, make sure I don't miss it as I'm starting to learn your comms. And keep track of it, okay? I got information today. It came from the person I was having coffee with. Today I heard a whisper inside. Oh, today I heard a song lyric, and it's sending me in the right direction. And keep a list of it, and you'll notice what comes up over and over again. All right, so first of all, please know that God, universe, source, prime creator, is always speaking to you in many different ways. And it's up to us to learn the methods of communication, and it really comes trial and error, to really being open and not dismissing things and saying, okay, was that God? Was that maybe God? God, was that you? Was that you? And the answers will come. And sometimes some people catch on very quickly, and for other people, it develops over time. And then you also have to have faith and trust and belief that God is speaking with you. And if you've got, limiting beliefs in the way, let's clear those beliefs. Like, some people grow up believing that God only speaks to the priest. God only speaks to the head of the household. God only speaks to men. God only speaks to fill in the blank. And if you grew up with that belief and still hold that belief, then you would be thinking, well, God's not speaking to me directly. I have to go to somebody else to get those answers. And that's false. That's false news. God is speaking directly to you. So we need to clear that belief. Okay? That belief, I really believe, was meant to keep us disconnected, right? To keep us disconnected from our source, from our light, from our power, from where we were birthed. And also to give power to other people, right? Because if you grew up believing that God doesn't speak to me directly, I always have to go to this person, and maybe I have to pay them money or whatever it might be, it puts a lot of power in that other person's lap. And it's time for you to take back the power. I think a lot of people have woken up to that, at least in my spiritual growth, personal development circles. But, it's a very big world. And if you are still operating under that belief, let's clear it out, because God's speaking to you directly. All right. So how is God speaking to you? I'd be interested in your input. Put that information below. If you feel that you've got some limitations standing in the way, you can always reach out to me. That is what I do. That's my expertise. I help people to turn within and discover and explore the belief, the pattern, the behavior, the outside influence that is creating a limitation within, whether it's your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, your concepts of reality, and really releasing what does not serve you, but harmonizing your inner world to be supportive of you so that you can create and live the life that you desire. And the future self process that I talked about at the beginning, that's what we're going to be doing, but just in a different way, because there's many different ways to create. There's many different ways to manifest. There's, guidelines that are the same for everybody, but there's no cookie cutter approach. So this session is a one-on-one you and I. Okay, it's not a class, it's a one-on-one you and I. It runs about 90 minutes, but I ask that you set aside 2 hours so that if we're in the groove of something, getting information for you, we're not going to cut the session short. All right, I do record this session. I want you to be present in the moment. And then after you go back, you listen to the session, you start to take notes of all the directions of, how to create what you want. So you come to the session with 3 things that you want to experience in your life. And we start off the session with conscious talk, and I help you to really develop that, because in order to manifest something, you have to conceive it. You have to see it and feel it and smell it. I'm like, oh, Esther, I can see that beautiful house that I want so much. And I see myself living there and waking up in the morning and coming home after work. And I just love it so much. And when you get to that space, it is already created in the ethers. And there's a you living in that house. And I'm going to help you to connect with the you living in that house, because that's a very beautiful, special part of you. And we're going to find out what are the steps that you took to create that house. What beliefs did you have to get rid of? What change in thinking did you have to make? Did you have to learn anything? Who did you lean on? Who did you ask for help? How did we get the money to do this? Is there a mortgage? What bank did you go to get a mortgage? Or how did you get the mortgage? How did you find that house to begin with, right? Maybe you're building a home. You say, oh, well, who did we hire to build that home? Where can I find this person? What obstacles came up and how did we overcome those obstacles? Having created it, is there anything you would do differently now to speed up the process, and how long did this take? So let's say your future self says, well, it took, from where you are now, Esther, it took 3 years for us to get into this house. Ooh, well, I'd like to get into that house next year. Is there a way we can speed this up? And the future self may say, looking back on it, if you do this, this, and this instead, you may speed it up. Or, you know what, looking back on it, we were just too wound up about moving away out of the community we grew up in. And if you got over that sooner, we would have moved into this new house sooner. So you see, we can get all kinds of really juicy information, and I'm going to guide you through the process. So there is a link below. You can take a look at it. There's sign up there. As I said, it's at a special pricing for now until end of day, December 5th, 2021. If you have any questions about it, email me those questions and I'll answer them for you. Otherwise, I'm just enjoying so much doing these processes for people, and people are really excited about it. I can't wait to see the creations that come out of this. In the meantime, I want you to know that God speaks to you all the time in many different ways. Know it. Believe it, learn the way he communicates. If I can help you out in any way, reach out and ask. We can do some sessions about it. In the meantime, ask your question. Say, God, make it known, make it obvious to me, and be conscious and aware with your surroundings. All right, I hope this information was helpful. I wish you all a magical, amazing day. Enjoy the very best of what love and life have to offer. All right, ciao, bells.